I was most scared the morning I was to give birth. I was told by prison staff that because I had a C-section 18 years prior, it was Georgia Department of Corrections policy that I had to have another one. Even though I told them I wanted to have a vaginal birth, they told me it was not allowed. It is my strong belief that the prison staff wanted me to have a C-section to fit my birth into their hospital transport schedule. God had other plans. I ended up with preeclampsia and had to be rushed to a hospital. This is where my trauma turned for the worse. I was dropped off with officers I did not know at a hospital and was in a surgery room surrounded by strangers, doctors who never examined me and nurses I'd never met. When I explained to the doctor that I was told I had to have a C-section, but that I wanted a natural birth, the doctor said it sounded like coercion to him. My beautiful Jordan was born August 15th, 2018. I had only 2 short hours to hold and look at my baby. This would be the last time I would see her for a few years, 3 years, about 3 years. We were separated. She was taken to the neonatal unit, and I was taken to a dark basement where they kept the incarcerated people. In the basement, I was transferred from the rolling bed to a stationary bed. I had to be helped by a couple of nurses as I could not feel my legs. I remember the nurse asking the male sergeant to step out so she could clean me up. And he replied, "I can't do that, ma'am." She looked me in the eyes and quietly said, "I'm sorry," and proceeded to clean my private areas while the male sergeant watched. The next few days, I remember random men looking every hour into that small window of the locked door. I remember seeing feet of people walking by my caged window and thinking, if people only knew what was happening down here, what would they say, or would they even care? I was transported to Learingdale State Prison 3 days after giving birth. I asked if I could see my baby and tell her goodbye, but the transporting officer told me it would be in my best interest not to say goodbye. They wouldn't even provide an update on how she was doing. Once I arrived at Learingdale, I was placed in the infirmary in a room with a woman who had MRSA. This made me very uneasy as I had a large open wound in my abdomen. I asked for cleaning products and was given asked for cleaning products, and when I was giving a thumbnail size amount of bleach in a pill cup. I was not given my property and therefore could not shower properly. I had been wearing the same underwear from the day I had gave birth, and I didn't have a change. When I would ask for pads, I was given 1, maybe 2 if I was lucky. I must have complained too much about the room being unsanitary because I was told to grab my bedding, and I was taken to lockdown, where I was left for 3 weeks. I was put in solitary when my baby was only 5 days old. In solitary confinement, I had no medical support. The staples in my stomach from my C-section had not dissolved, and there was no air conditioner. Hot, laying there in August, trying to heal, my C-section wound became infected. I didn't know how I was going to make it. To tell the truth, I didn't think I would make it out of there alive. No one ever checked on my mental health postpartum. I was never screened for postpartum depression. And my 6-week checkup consisted of a doctor asking, "How are you?" And I said, "Fine." He said, "Okay, good." When I was finally sent back to the general population, I spent a couple of weeks in a cell where I had to sleep on the floor because I physically could not climb on that top bunk. I came home in April of 2022, and it was clear that my kids had been serving time too. They'd had 5 homes during their 3 years in foster care, and they were traumatized. I was desperate to stitch my family back together, but finding housing something that was necessary if I was going to get my kids out of foster care was difficult with the criminal record. I must have applied for over 30 apartments, and I was repeatedly denied before I finally purchased a home. I had a mission to get a home and get my children back. I achieved my mission. Today we live together and we are all healing. But it's so clear that my kids were punished along with me. They never had been roller skating, never learned how to ride a bike or swim. They'd tell me they'd sit in a room all day in foster care. No opportunities, no activities. Nobody took them to the movies. I served my time, but my children and I will never fully be finished with my sentence. I am hopeful that my testimony will make a difference and that we might work together on alternatives that heal instead of harm families.
Thank you so much, Ms. Umberger.